Welcome, everybody. So I'm very happy that again you could join for this workshop. And we have lots of things to talk about. So let me actually right away switch over here. So you should see now sort of already my slides. And everything today is going to be about engagement with students, strategies and tools to engage with students. So that's really the focus of today. Before I hand over to Sana will run the first part, roughly 45 minutes. Then we will have a break actually, and I will send you off with a question in a 15 minutes break so that we can breathe a little bit. And then afterwards I will take over and I have some strategies for you also. But before, very quickly, update, where are we? So I want to again focus it because I have gotten more questions. We have sent around already a couple of emails with where you can find material. There is this finance department surf drive now. You have here the access, how to get there, how to include it in your own surf drive. And we have sent it also around in an email. So you should have it in your email box as well. Beyond today, I already want to make aware of. Today, it's very much about engagement strategies in the sense there will be a lot of different ideas how to run through it, not so much the practical implementation. And next week, Seema Ramdas, she's from the Learn Academy. I've talked to her quite many times. She's really, really good. She will do the practical implementation beyond what I'm going to talk about and Sana is going to talk about today. And again, I want to tell you, give us feedback. Let us know where you are at the moment so that maybe we can arrange future things, either one-on-one meetings or that we can arrange maybe another more detailed workshop. Yeah, and I also want to say the Mentimeter poll of last time, we used this, your feedback last time, I used it to set up the content of today, so that it had actually a real purpose. Okay, that's actually the agenda of my part already. So with that, I already give it over to Sana and then she can start with her part.
Welcome everyone to this third workshop. Thank you for joining. In the next 45 minutes, I will speak about 3 of the tools that facilitate interaction with students. So we'll speak about Zoom. All of you are most probably familiar with Zoom as the conferencing call tool at VU. So I will highlight some of the options to interact with students, such as breakout rooms. I will also speak about screen sharing and a couple of other options. Next to that, I'll also speak about Mentimeter. You already had some experience with Mentimeter during the last workshop, but today, actually, I would like to demonstrate to you how you can use Mentimeter not only to create interactive presentations, but also to collect questions from students in real time. Plus, you can also sort those questions by popularity. The last functionality that I would like to discuss with you is discussion boards in Canvas. Discussion boards, among other applications, could also be used to collect questions from students, but it could also be used to encourage interaction between students. So how can you access Canvas? You can actually do that in 2 ways. You can do it directly, or you can do that through the web browser. I have included already the link to the website of VU. All you need to do is use your VU credentials to log in. You can also use the client software and log in with the SSO VU/live zoom.us. But you can also access Canvas. You can also access Zoom through Canvas, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So to access Zoom through Canvas, all you need to do is go to your course and locate the Zoom link in your navigation pane. Well, it might be the case that you don't see it. So in this case, you need to allow it through settings, which you can find here. Once you click on the Zoom link, then that will bring you to a page with an overview of your upcoming meetings and also previous meetings. Would like to plan a new meeting, then all you need to do is press on the schedule new meeting button, and that will bring you to the page where you can impose the settings of your meeting. Here, what I would like to highlight to you is that you can already in planning your meeting, you can impose a setting to start recording the meeting. And basically, if you check that option, you'll be provided with 2 options to record your meeting on your local computer and also in the cloud. Important to mention here is that if you choose to record your meeting in the cloud, then your recording will be only temporarily available in the Zoom cloud location. And after a certain period of time, that will be removed. So it is advisable actually to save a copy of your recording locally so that you can access it later on. Well, among others, you can assign additional hosts, determine the time of the meeting, and so forth. Once you're ready, then you can save your meeting, and that will appear in the list of meetings. Start your meeting through Canvas. All you need to do is press on Start, and that will open the meeting. What I would like to share with you is a number of attention points. So first of all, if you're accessing Zoom for the first time, make sure that you're using a licensed copy of Zoom. And you can check that by going to the web portal of Zoom. You need to press on Profile, and if you scroll down, you'll locate the user type that is associated with your account. So make sure that you're using a licensed account, because that will give you access to all the features in Zoom. You can also have meetings longer than the limitation of a private account. So back to the slides. So we already addressed how to set up a meeting, how to start a meeting, and how to record your live sessions. I would like to bring to your attention a number of tips. So if you're going to organize a live meeting, it is advisable that you recommend to your students to get familiar with the Zoom etiquette. This is an online document which highlights some of the expected behavior from students. I have it already opened on my computer. So as you see, some recommendations for preparation, some general rules on behavior. It also contains some recommendations on how students to test their equipment prior the session. All right, and if you decide to record your session, it is important that you notify your students that they will be recorded. This is in line with the View privacy protocol. And keep in mind that once you schedule a meeting, Zoom meeting through Canvas, then students are not notified of that newly scheduled meeting. So you have to do that separately. So with this, I would like to move to the more interactive features in Zoom. So for instance, screen sharing is one of the options that I believe most of you will be using quite a bit. So screen sharing allows you to share your screen. So for instance, to project a PowerPoint presentation, or you can delegate the rights for a student to share their screen. So in order to start screen sharing, go to the meetings controls. One of the settings that I would like to address with you when you're sharing your screen is annotation. So if you press on that little pencil, that will activate the annotation tools, and that will allow you, for instance, to highlight certain parts of your screen, like I have done here. So what annotation basically does is create a layer on top of your screen, and it allows to mark certain areas of your screen, to highlight them. You can also delegate annotation rights to your students. In order to clear your annotations, you need to select this bucket and clear all drawings. And keep in mind that annotations will remain active until you deactivate the option. So you can do that by selecting the mouse. If you decide to cancel the annotations mode, then you can do that by pressing that little cross. All right, a number of tips that I would like to share here with regards to screen sharing. So first of all, if you decide to project your presentation, then you can already start your presentation in presentation mode, so in full screen mode, and then you can toggle between the windows with Alt and Tab. Keep in mind that if you decide to share video in your live sessions, or if you decide to share, for instance, sound, you can optimize those settings in the sharing screen options underneath. There are two small settings. Optimizing for sound sharing basically will allow you to optimize the sound and to capture the sound from your computer directly instead of your speakers. And what I would like to mention here is that video sharing is not optimal through Zoom. So Zoom is a conferencing call tool. And if you decide to project a video, then if you decide to project a video, the video projecting functionality of Zoom is suboptimal. In order to improve the video quality, what you can do is use a tool called OBS. More information on that tool will be included in the manual. And what this tool does is basically simulate a webcast. And you can compose that webcast of various screens. So, for instance, your image, your slides, or your video, and that will help you to optimize the video quality. And
if you, for example, look at my screen at the moment, that's exactly what I'm doing. So at the moment you see my camera in the top right, and you actually see my screen sharing, but I can also swap really quickly to full screen, or full camera, or I could swap to full screen. So what's actually, I use OBS and I set different screen settings up, and that it funnels through the channel of a webcam, and Zoom thinks now that's my webcam. That's all I'm doing. Quite simple to set up, and we will put this in the manual for this type of information we give you today, so it will be available.
Okay, it was on screen sharing. Next, the other functionality that I would like to talk about is breakout rooms. So what breakout rooms basically allow you to do is to divide your main session into subgroups. And those subgroups are specific to the people assigned to the room. So they are in this sense private. And as a lecturer, you can join each of the breakout rooms if students ask for help or if you decide to check on their progress. Keep in mind that there are a number of limitations related to breakout rooms. So for instance, the total number of breakout rooms that you can create is up to 50, and that's dependent on the total number of participants, but also on the meeting capacity. So the general rule is the more participants you have, the lower the number of breakout rooms that you can create are. Another thing to note with regards to breakout rooms is that only the main room is being recorded. So in this sense, if you, for instance, use the main room for one group of students, then that will be present in your meeting recording. And in some instances, for instance, users that are using Chromebook or Chrome OE operational system, this is unadvisable because those users are not able to join any breakout rooms. So they're not able to use that functionality. And lastly, important to mention with regards to breakout rooms is that only the host can assign participants to breakout rooms. The co-host can leave and join any breakout rooms only if they join a breakout room that they are assigned to. So next, I would like to speak about enabling breakout rooms, creating breakout rooms, how to open them, but also how to manage them in progress. So if you want to create breakout rooms, go to the meetings controls, and there you will. You need to press on more, and that will bring you to the breakout rooms options, and that will allow you to create automatically or manually breakout rooms. What I would like to show you is that you can already pre-assign your participants prior to the meeting. So right now I'm on the Zoom web portal. So I have already created a number of meetings, and I have went into the settings of one of the meetings. And if you scroll down, what you'll find is the option to activate breakout rooms. There you can upload already an Excel file where you have a list of the predefined rooms. If you decide to manage your breakout rooms while they're in progress or even before you create them, you can do that before you open them. Zoom will open a screen that allows you to configure the breakout rooms, and it will provide you the options to for instance, move all the participants automatically to the breakout rooms, also to return to the main session whenever they would like to, and some other options. And once you're ready with all these options, then you can open the breakout rooms. and that will display a list of all the participants, and it will allow you to see which of the participants have already joined the meeting or which of the participant is still awaiting approval to join the meeting. While the meetings are in progress, you can still configure them. So for instance, you can switch participants, or you can exchange them from one room to the other. Useful feature is that participants in the breakout rooms can call for assistance, so they can address the lecturer, and they can ask for the lecturer to join the meeting, and then you can help. So the other feature that Zoom offers with regards to interaction is polling. So polling basically allows you to create a single or multiple choice questions. So in order to use polls, you need to allow them first. I have switched my screen to the web portal of Zoom, where I have went to the meetings tab, and I have selected the today sessions online education workshop. And once you select the session, actually I'll click back to show you step by step how I do it. So then I will select this session. And if you scroll to the very bottom, you'll see a tab called poll. So this is where you can add multiple or single choice questions through the button add. I have already created one poll, so I can start it in a minute just to test the feature. You can edit the settings of the poll. You can already add multiple, not only one questions, but multiple questions. You can delete them. You can also make the poll anonymous, so it's not necessary to collect the information from students in order to initiate the polls. One limitation to mention here is that per session you can create up to 25 polls, but more than that is not possible within Zoom. So once you have finished with the meeting, Zoom also offers the option to download the poll results. So you can do that by going to the web portal, selecting the reports tab, and then you can go to your online meeting. In my case, is this, and I can generate a report which will give you an overview of the meeting details. All right, so that was on polling, and the other function that I would like to address with regards to interacting with students in Zoom is chat. Chat is available again through the meetings control panel, which is located all underneath your screen or on top of your screen. And you see a little bubble chat, or you can find it in your more options. Another way to access it is to go to the list of participants, and then you can and then you have an overview of everyone participating in the session, and in the text box beneath the list of participants, you can type in your questions, and you can address it to everyone, or you can send a private message to one person in particular.
Let me jump in there really quick. So on the slide of Asana, you also saw the little tip. Use the TA to moderate the chat. So when you are live in the live sessions, you have to handle a lot of things usually. You have your slides, you need to think what you talk about, you have your camera. And then in another chat, you're in the middle of your material, there's popping up a question that might be an irrelevant question, or it might be an important one. You have to read it, it will interrupt your flow. So that is actually a really good motivation to hire an TA for your course and use it, for example, for that. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. And so actually simple questions like Remco, for example, is doing at the moment. He is addressing the simple questions he can answer very quick. So that can happen by
simple questions. That's right.
That can happen by the TA. So he can already address those, and the more important ones he can basically collect and maybe then say, hey, Sana, there's something which you need to address, or would you have the time to address these? So, and that's an immense help. I do Q&A sessions online for a long time, and I will look forward to having a TA to help me with that. So just as a quick tip, back to you, Sana.
Thank you very much, Norman. Well, actually, I have finished with the part on Zoom. I would like to move to the next tool, which is Mentimeter. So most of you already have experience with Mentimeter from the previous workshop, where you have provided your view on what excites you about teaching students. And of course, Mentimeter is a very nice tool which gives the opportunity to create very nice interactive presentations. But you can also use Mentimeter to collect questions from students. Collecting questions in real life also allows you to sort questions by popularity. Popularity is voted by students themselves, so they can decide whether a particular question is very relevant to them or less relevant by providing likes to the questions. I'm gonna quickly walk you through how to access Mentimeter, and then I'm gonna show you some of the slide types that you can create in your presentation. And I will explain some of the other functionalities. And finally, we'll test the Q&A slides. Detailed instructions on how to access Mentimeter are available in the courses. And then you need to go to Tools for Teachers. There you can find the page of specifically focused on Mentimeter, which will open this overview, and it explains how to access Mentimeter. There are two ways to access Mentimeter. You can create a new account and already with your View ID by going on the Mentimeter site associated with View. But you can, if you already have account, which I did in my specific case, I have created a personal account and then I have upgraded it to a business account. And using a business account will give you access to some of the more advanced functionalities, for instance, to create your own teams, but also to use the already existing teams within Mentimeter. I'm already logged into Mentimeter. And I have already created one presentation, but I'll show you how to create a new one from scratch. So all you need to do is press on this new presentation button that will open your new screen where you can give a name to your presentation and press on create a presentation. So once you do that, that will bring you to the editing canvas of Mentimeter, which you see on my screen. So I have created 3 slides. This is the pane where you have a small overview of your slides. Then you have the main canvas. And then you have the editing, the configuration options for each particular slide. Well, here you also can see all the different type of slides. So you have open content slides. So basically those are slides where you can type any content. You can add bullet points, image, and so forth. You can also use some of the more popular question types, which are, for instance, multiple choice questions. You can even organize a small quiz competition between participants and, for instance, let them select an answer. Last time during the workshop, we used the open-ended slide, which basically allowed you to give your opinion, to write down your opinion, and it's displayed it as a grid. So what I have created here is 3 slides. If you would like to follow on how the audience experience the presentation, you can go to menti.com. I'm going to press on presentation mode so you can see the exact URL. So this is the URL menti.com, and you can log in to view the presentation with this access code. So I'm going to read it out loud for the one that might experience troubles viewing the code. So it is 5328908. So I'm going to exit presentation mode to show you the 3 slides. So this is a slide that we will address in a minute. But here I would like to show you how to create a slide that will help you to collect questions from students. There are 2 ways actually. The first way is to use a Q&A slide. So this is already existing format, and that will allow you to punctuate a specific point in your presentation where students are allowed to ask questions and you can address them. If you go, so I have already selected that type of slide, which you can see here, it's highlighted. If you go on contents, you can input your question. And here I would like to highlight these 2 options. So you're provided the option to collect questions throughout the entire presentation or only on the Q&A slide. By selecting the first option, basically students will be able to ask any questions at any point in the presentation. And in the Q&A slide, you'll be able to see all those questions also ranked by students. So this is one of the ways how you can collect questions from students. And then the second one is if you create a content slide. If you pick any of the content slide, in my case, I have I have picked up headings. So I have inputted the content through the content tab. And here you can add reactions. So as you see, they appear in the bottom right corner of the slides. So students can like the slides, they can dislike it. They can also pose questions. So this is the feature that we're interested in. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to select this slide, and I'm going to open the presentation mode. So if you're already in Mentimeter, you can follow on how the students will experience the interaction. So what I'm going to do is ask a single question, and then we'll follow up on what will happen. You should see is a pop-up with a single a pop-up with all the available questions and all the address questions here. And what also students experience once they see a question popping up on their screen is the option to like this question or not to react to that question. And what Mentimeter does is automatically sort questions that received most like upfront, so you can address it. Later on, you can mark it as answered. All right. So this is on. This is the slide. This is the Q&A slide, and this is the other type of question collection method through Mentimeter, which basically involves reactions. And if I click here, then I can see that the same question popping up on my screen, and then I can see how many likes that question have received and mark it as answered when that question is addressed.
Sana, may I ask something?
Yes, of course.
Also possible to use it in combination with pre-recorded lectures?
This is possible. So all you need to do is leave your presentation activated and provide a link to menti.com and provide the access code to the students. So what they can do is separately from the recorded presentation, log into the menti.com website with the access code and go through the presentation themselves.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so that was on Mentimeter. Let me switch back to my presentation. And then the last function that I would like to address with you is the discussions functionality within Canvas. Canvas offers a very nice feature to collect questions from students on a particular topic. So I'm going to demonstrate how to access discussions in Canvas. So if you go to your own course, then in the navigation pane on the left-hand side, press on the discussions link. If you don't see that, again, you need to enable it through settings. So I have already clicked on discussions under the practice course, and that will provide a list of all the active discussions in that particular course. So in this case, I have only one discussion, test discussions, and here in this field, you'll see an overview of other discussions. If you press on discussions, you'll see an overview of all the posts, so the initial topic, but also subsequent posts. Any new posts will be, unread posts will be marked with a dot. You can mark a post as read or as unread manually, but this can also happen automatically. So in order to create a new discussion, you can press on the discussion button, which will give you the options to determine the settings of the discussion, but also to input content through the rich content editor. Here, I would like to highlight two particular options to use. So allow nested discussions. So by allowing that, basically you allow students to respond to each other. So not only have a focus discussions where students are limited only to replies to the main post, but they can create sort of nests in their discussions. And I'm going to show you how this looks. Here you have a focus discussion, and if I scroll beneath, you'll see in the last post you'll see a nested discussions where a user can respond to any of the posts from the other users. The other option that I would like to highlight is allow liking. So that option will allow students to vote on their posts. So for instance, if a student posts a question and a lot of students find that question for relevant, that question will pop first in the discussion feed. To do that, you need to allow to sort the discussion by likes. One thing to be aware of is that as an instructor, if you create discussion, you'll be automatically subscribed to this discussion, which means that you'll receive notification if anyone is posting in that discussion post. To see whether you're subscribed to a particular discussion, all you need to do is activate this little flag. It will color in green, and that will show that you're subscribed to this discussion. Keep in mind that if your students create a discussion, then you will not be automatically subscribed to that. So you have to subscribe yourself manually to the discussion. And you can do it as I have just done it. You can also do it inside the discussion by pressing on the subscribe button. In this case, it is green because I have already subscribed. And if it's gray, then that means that I can yet subscribe. What I would like to show you here is that you already see the sorting option activated. So sorting by like posted first, and then this test response 2 was posted second. And because it has received more likes, which you see here, then it appeared as on the top of the discussion feed.
Jump in here, Sana?
Yes, of course.
So I think you also wanted to mention this. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I saw a question in the chat asking, how can you get students to answer each other's questions, so to be active on the discussion board? Okay. So I have, Leonard is one of our colleagues. He has used this extensively, and he says that works quite well in general, the discussion board. So he can actually handle a lot of questions which otherwise would end up individual in his mailbox via the discussion board. Then there's one maybe little caveat here. It's not anonymous, this discussion board. And there we have the license to another tool, which is called Piazza, which has in a large extent the same properties, the same kind of functionalities. An add-on is you can have their anonymous contributions. So I could guess that if you would activate that students might be willing more to answer each other's questions. You can still moderate, right? As a host, as the owner as the lecturer, you can still also say this is a good answer or not. So if you look for a slightly more sophisticated tool, which is anonymous contributions, which I think would make it more active, then you could look into Piazza. And let me sort of maybe add one thing. Similar to the fashion of our last workshop, this workshop is supposed to give you an idea what's out there, and Sana's already giving you a lot of details. But yeah, it's going quite fast. But as last time, in the background, we are building up a manual for that. So if something is flying by today, and also we see in the chat your specific questions, which we'll take on, then this will go in the manual where you see these things in detail. So if you think discussion board, that's for me, then soon there is a manual where you can look up what we discussed in much more detail. Then, yeah, so it's not lost. Okay, back to you, Sana.
Thank you, Norman. Well, actually, that was we're almost towards the end of the slides. So the last function that I would like to show to you is that you can allow students to post discussions, and you can do that by clicking on settings in discussion and then activating the option for students to create discussion topics, and of course save those settings once you're ready. And with this, I would like to give the word to Norman. I believe that we are just before a break.
Indeed. So may I have your attention really quick for my nice subtle background? Do you see this by any chance? Do you see my camera? So I manufactured that will be available on our surf drive. So in case you really like that, you can use it. It's a little bit of a joke, but I sort of made this up and sort of used it. Okay, so we are at the end of the part 1, and what I want to do now is I want to have a 10 minutes break. But the question, one of the questions in the Mentimeter, I would like to ask you to go there. The question is, from the top of my head, it's roughly like, what do you think, why would students study with us at the VU rather than going to an online course, which is freely available, an online program, which is freely available? So what do you think, do we add as the VU to our students, or what is the reason? So I would be really interested that you take the break sort of to breathe a little bit through, and but also give me an answer for this question, what do you think? And after the break, I will come back and I will refer to some of the tools Sana has introduced, and we'll talk about engagement strategies. And again, I will give you lots of ideas, and we will go quickly through lots of ideas, and the implementation will be then part of the next workshop. So give you 10 minutes. So we have 11:52. Maybe we can make it 12 o'clock. That we resume at 12 o'clock. Is that fine with everybody? Yeah, can I see a thumbs up from some people? Yeah, thumbs down. Fieke, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, let's do it 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay? Good. Then let's resume at 11:57 then. Let me welcome you back to the second part. And let's actually have a quick look at this poll here, the questionnaire: why students will study with us at VU rather than studying with a free online program. And I very recently saw this question. It made me really think hard. And also one of the answers we see here is because we give formal master's diplomas. Ooh, if that would be the only reason, the only added value we give them, that would be, then we only produce people with diplomas, but actually they can learn somewhere else better. I also see some other comments here where we have live working groups, so we make them think beyond only knowledge transfer. And indeed, I think that's right. But I think it's a very interesting question to think about. And I want to try in the next 40 minutes roughly to give you some ideas, which is related to engaging with students, to give them maybe some more value added. A wise person recently told me big universities in the US, they have this smart in, smart out. So they collect already up front the very most smart students. And then inside of the university, there's learning going on, there's teaching going on there, but there's so much more going on. And I think that's a perspective I myself haven't really taken on so much. So there's transference of knowledge, but there's also interacting with students and giving them content beyond only pure knowledge. Okay, so let's see. Can you stop the screen sharing, Sana? And I will jump over to my OBS screen sharing. So I take this over and I go into the full screen mode. Okay. Here we go. Good. So the agenda of the next couple of minutes, I searched around, talked to a lot of people, whether lecturers, whether students. I read books, talked to professional teachers, and roughly the agenda, what you see here is a collection of loose points, which I put in those categories here. And as I said, I will go through them quite quickly. They are meant as to, oh, that's actually a good idea. I should do that. And I was looking for low-hanging fruits in particular. Some of them will be a little bit of work to set up, but some of them are really low-hanging fruits to actually interact with our students in a nice way, online in particular, to make them work by themselves as well. So what I learned from talking to students, startup phase of a course, general ideas, live sessions, how to collect questions, feedback, group work, and some more. So I have a bonus thing for you at the end. So please stick with me. You might have heard this in YouTube's videos. Please stick with me until the end. That has another reason why I say it, but here we go. Let's jump into it. Okay, so the main focus, tools to stay connected with our students. What I want to talk about, the overall goal, we want to feel connected, right? Last time in the last workshop, we had a Mentimeter poll where we asked you what would make you feel excited, what would make you happy or feel good about your teaching. And one of the answers which came most is feeling connected, getting good feedbacks from students. That is something we want to address here. And it has been found out that students get connected in a study program when they are activated and when they feel seen. So what we want to activate them, that they not only passively sit there, that they do something, and that they feel be seen as a person behind the screen. Yeah, and that's a little bit my focus point here. And the question I added here again, what would be our added value? Can we create added value beyond pure knowledge transfer? Because that can be we can get somewhere else. So maybe that's something we all want to think about if we want. So then I talked to a couple of students who have been recently experienced online teaching, and what I learned from them, I want to present here, sort of the focal points. What I learned is it is very important for them. This is one of the most important points they gave me. A super clear Canvas/course structure is absolutely vital, because we don't have these little interacting points in the lecture in a break or so where we can make clear things or we can refer to things. What did I learn from students? Clear Canvas structure. Because we don't have these little interactive points where we can mention in a break, I just got the question, this is where you find the assignment, this is where, that's not available. So it's super important for them to have a very clear idea where they find which material. And one idea to help them with this is actually to make a video where we explain the Canvas page. So we go through them, we show them the little sections, the little writers, and tell them, okay, every Monday here you find the new you will find the new videos. Still small in gallery. All right, I would love to still use the setting. You can pin my video. Remco tells me you still see me small, but you can pin my video and then I should be in the forefront.
Yeah, then it works.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So you can make a video about your Canvas structure and you walk them through the different parts, and then they have a very clear idea. Another point is you could have a course manual, or you should have a course manual. And again, it should be very detailed in there. What happens when are knowledge clips shared and uploaded? Where do you find what the assignments, exercises? How do you communicate with me as a teacher? Is it the discussion board? Do I have a TA, email? Which means to use when? How does examination look like? And again, yeah, they have only the online tool. They are not on site, they are not here. So that's only what they have available. And that's not my opinion. I tell you the opinion of students whom I asked. Talk with excitement. So some of the students reported to me, yeah, in spring when everybody had to switch, many teachers had a screencast where they just had slides and they talked over them, but you could hear in the background, they not really were super happy about the whole situation. And I guess that also makes you as a student like, not super engaged. So one rule you could try is 20% of more excitement than you would usually talk with. That also makes students more captured and gives them the chance to have an attention with you for a longer time. I think we should also not do it over the top, right? There are some YouTube videos I sometimes watch where I think, which pill does this person just swallowed? I don't want to have this one. Yeah, where it's just like, hey, good morning. Oh, I want it. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much, but having the right level there is maybe good. And it's an interesting fact. There are studies showing that during normal on-site lectures, our normal lectures, students usually zoom out 50% of the time. And it's not the Zoom we're using at the moment. It's really like going away. And wow, now let's think what happens in online lectures. Woo, that might be even more. So let's see, can we do something about it? Showing your person via camera. I got specifically this I know not everybody is a real fan of that. but I have been told it is appreciated if you show your person in a camera as a talking head or so. Visibility as you as a person helps them to connect to you, to concentrate. There's a person talking to them and not only the voice. And I think what we have to keep in mind here, we're not producing only one video. If we have one video, that might be still something else. We want to connect over 6, 7, 8 weeks with them, multiple videos coming. And there it indeed seems to be helpful. That's the words of the students, that they see somebody in person. And I think what I also get back is it needs not to be overly fancy. Yeah, so flying arrows all the time, or that is nice to have, but it's not something which they really think is super, super helpful. So there where we could save a little bit of time when editing our videos. And something which we should do is put ourselves in the position of the students and think what is really helpful for them in this position here. That's what they ask us to do. Put yourself in our seat and think what's helpful. It still doesn't mean that we do have to do everything, right? We still might think, okay, sometimes they also have to think by themselves, but I think it's good sometimes more not to be in only our position, but to turn it around a little bit. And students want to have all material. Yeah, so every note you write on a tablet during your lecture, during your Q&A, they want to have this uploaded on Canvas. Every solution to exercise, every exercise sheet, recorded lectures, Q&As, every material you produce, they prefer to have it available to them on the Canvas page. So they really appreciate that. And another thing they appreciate is offer online office hours. So they can, sign up, and there are 2 ways you can do it. You can say first come, first serve. There are 1.5 hours each week where you sort of have a Zoom meeting going and you invite them to go into the waiting room. Or there are even tools where you can, like with a doctor, you can book your slot, and then if you come first to book your slot, you have your 20-minute or 15 or 10-minute slot, which we could use. By the way, as always, if you have questions, please just jump in and ask me. Okay, so now the startup phase of a course, a couple of ideas how we can engage students, how we can build a bond, how we can sort of build a group, a cohort. So communication is crucial for a good start. Communicating in a good way, in a respectful manner with them is very good and helpful to reduce anonymity. Remember again, putting in the position of the students, they can only see the entire screen, their screen, but that means they cannot see the entirety of the class. Maybe they only see a subset, or maybe they only see you as a talking head. And now you ask them maybe to answer a question. Whoa, are you that brave that you go out and there might be 150 people you have never seen? So that's kind of important to try to produce a setup where we have trust and where we feel safe, because otherwise it leads to less contribution, it hinders the learning process. And that is something we also experienced already, right? When I interviewed you in spring, many of you told me Q&A sessions at the beginning, they are full, and then very quickly they drop out, students drop out. And I think part of it is because it is an unfamiliar situation, which feels maybe not very comfortable, and we can do something about that. So one thing I would recommend to you, introduce yourself via a video at the beginning of your course. So you record a video and you could talk about your research interests, for example. You can talk about why you like teaching this course, but also would be nice if you want. So to add a personal note by talking about what do you do in your spare time, or why you like your dog so much, or whatever you think could sort of make you a bit more a person and build a trustworthy bond with your students, I think could be nice. Yeah, good point. Fike is just asking, how can you encourage your students to activate the camera? Hold on for a minute, I will come to that. Social media, I added it because I found it as a recommendation. Not sure whether I'm personally such a big fan of that, but yeah, I mean, that's something, Instagram, Twitter, many different many different chances here to connect with the younger generations, if you want so. Okay, let's move on. Startup phase of the course 2. Well, we introduce ourselves via video, but we can also let them introduce themselves via video. So what we could ask them to do, that they upload a video on Media Gallery. That's the part of the course page where they could have access as well. And we can ask them a theme. Always when you interact with students, you need to have a theme, open-ended, difficult, a theme. You can ask them, for example, why they choose this course, if it's an elective one, of course, or what they expect from the course. Or you could go in a total different open direction, and you can say, best or worst decision you have ever made in your life. And they can upload that, and people can see each other, right? They can see the videos of their colleagues. They can see your videos, but also the videos of their fellow students. And that's the way I would find really interesting to learn, where they come from, what the cultural backgrounds they have, what are the people I'm with here in this online area. Yeah. So, and there are many more things you can do. And actually, I talked to Remco. We want to do something like that on the. I think, Remco, I hope you still agree with me. We want to do something like that on a program level, where we, for example, ask the students to introduce yourself. What are the 3 places you like to go to, for example, or what are 3 things you really like to do in your spare time? Yeah? It comes under a set of rules, which Sana already mentioned, and I will go into that as well. Okay, so general ideas, new section, general ideas, a little bit of a different collection of ideas. So what I just said, when you start your course, you should set out a catalog of rules, because apparently I would never have thought about that, but apparently in the past it has happened that when you have people being online with their camera, so students, that some students made screenshots of other students or things like that, or made a meme out of it. So changed it and, drew over it or something like that. And that's, of course, produces a situation of mistrust, which is really not very, advanced behavior, but seems to happen. So we want to, on the course level, we want to set out an online etiquette set of rules, but I think it's very important to have that on the course level as well in your course manual, but I also talk in the kickoff meeting about this. So establish a set of rules. For example, microphones are muted when you come into the class, cameras switched on. That's a default setting. Use a chat function if you want to talk, or how you use the chat function, ask questions. No eating during lectures, for example. Yeah, as a lecturer, it's quite disheartening if you see half of the students eating. There's a break which is available for that. No screenshots of fellow students. So think about what are the rules you want to have, how your lectures and Q&A sessions run, and then set them out to the students. Yeah. Another point is, what is actually an engaged student? So I think I once had a kissing student. Fike just says in the chat, yeah, okay, lots of things happening. So maybe I mentioned here already, it's a later point, but I can say it. So Fike also asked, how can I make my students to switch on the camera? So I would motivate it. I would say, hey, it's a trust build that helps me to stay communicative with you. So I see whether you can still follow me. And if somebody doesn't want to have it, if they have whatever reason, what I will do is I ask them in a private chat, hey, please, or I will ask them, please give me in a private chat a reason why you don't want to do that. And maybe they have a very good reason, you can accept that. Or maybe they can tell you something where I say, hey, actually, that's not a problem. We will handle that. We will deal with that. I will tell people not to do that or whatever. So, by default, ask them to switch it on. And if they don't want to, then really actively ask them, why do you not want to do that? And many of them, I think, will come online. Next point, what is an engaged student? And that's an interesting point. I think we in the Western world, for example, we have quite an idea of what an engaged student is. He asks questions, he thinks, he is sort of active. But you might go to other parts of the world where an active student is somebody who's silent, super focused, and who's writing every word from your lips down in some notes. So it's maybe important to tell our students that is what we expect from you. That's what we would like to have from you in terms of participation in a class. Yeah, as I said, different cultures, different backgrounds. I think it's good to think about that and tell them, hey, that is what I like from you. And then I see you as a really positive, engaged student. Now I'm going a little bit more into the direction of, can we make students actually work? So I think we should also make our students make aware that our lifetime, our being online, spending one-on-one or spending Q&A session time with them, that's valuable time. Yeah, that's valuable time. So they should not misuse it. They should appreciate the time and should sort of be respectful with it. All right, something else. We might assume very easily that our students are from the tech generation, and that means that they know how to use hardware and all types of software tools. And apparently that's not the case. So we need to be careful with that, and we should always give reasonable amount of explanation when we introduce a new tool or something like that we want to use. Always start each session with a personal note in order to comfort your students. So that's a tip. When you start your session, say, hello, this was actually a great morning. I had a run in the park and it was the best run I had ever. I broke my personal record or something like that. So to get in a sort of this human interactive state of mind. Something else we should think of, we have now an online framework at the moment. So planning for remote students, we might have different time zones. So a way to handle that, there is a couple of things we should be aware of. Let me quickly switch over. There is actually a rather new Vue page, which is called Vue Teaching or Vue Teaching Learning Tips, it's called. Here you find the URL to that page, and there's lots of information there. Some I picked up, and you find there as well. We will make this available in our manual, this link. And for example, what I just want to present with respect to remote students, it's taken from there. So when it comes to remote students, different time zones, ask for your students' time zones. And we actually did this on the program level already. And at the moment, it looks like we don't have too many different time zones. But well, you could have people from Hawaii or China or so and so on, right? Use an international time conversion chart. So make them available. If you talk about 2 o'clock live session, what does it mean for a Hawaiian student, for example, that they really easily can convert their time zone? Avoid using relative chronicle terms like today, yesterday, tomorrow. Yeah, that might create confusion for somebody who tomorrow is maybe some different time than for us. Or use a 24-hour clock structure rather than 2 p.m., 1 p.m., etc., which is widely accepted internationally. Some ideas of avoiding confusion in that area. Let me quickly check the time. Yeah, I think we're good in time. As I said, many more material with respect to that could be found on that page. I collected some of the really interesting ones. All right, so a little bit into how can we make students work, yeah? I think oftentimes, myself at least, I think, okay, I need to do everything, I need to present everything. And in my recent studies for this workshop, I got a lot of ideas of how we can actually make the students work a little bit more for us in a good way. Yeah, not that we exploit them, but in a way that is actually helpful for them. And number one is, I think, is stick with your guns. And funny enough, that was given to me from a teacher's teacher. So from one of the learning academies, she told me, stick with your guns. And I said, okay. So what we want is we want to reward behavior we want to see. So when we ask students to prepare for a lecture, certain materials, then we come to the class and we say, who has prepared for the lecture? Half of the class says, yep, we did, half not. And then you go through the material again you lost your students which have prepared the material. They will never prepare anything anymore. This is really the point where you say, okay, I stick with my gun, and you expect that this material is prepared and you work with it in that way. So how can I make students prepare for class? Interesting question then. There could be a thing, you have an individual quiz which you have upfront online, which relates to the preparation of the class. And in the class, you could have a short time of a breakout setting. Yeah, we go in breakout rooms, we have groups, and in that group, you repeat the quiz, for example. Yeah, so they have done the quiz, they have their preparations at home, and if they are in class in the quiz, they will not be the one dumb person who has nothing to say, because they have prepared. They will be able to contribute to the quiz, and they know this up front. Yeah, so I call this, I don't want to be the dumb one student who cannot say anything tool, which I want to use. I want to use this leverage in order to activate students. Another way is, I learned some some lecturers use in a good way. You have several assignments, but you only create a subset of those assignments. So maybe 2 assignments, you only create 1, and the students do not know upfront which one. Yeah, you can debate about it. It's a bit of a tricky one, but apparently that's used quite widely among teachers, not only at the worldwide. How can we make students show up for a Q&A session? Yeah, that was also something where some of our colleagues said, hey, they come the first time and then they quickly drop off. So what you could do, you could only record a part of the session. For example, you record only the solutions, and the more live interactive part of the debate, where you sort of have special things you want to discuss, that stays live, and it will stay live for always. And only the absolute necessary things will go into the recording and will be accessible later. Or you make the recordings available with a certain lag, a couple of days or weeks later. Yeah, so that could help to make them participate in your Q&A session. Another thing is, we want to sort of engage students and make them aware where they are standing, that they not drop off too much with their learning materials. We should make them aware how many students, how many hours we want them to work. Yeah, we have that usually in the course manual, but we could make this more dominant. Tell them that many hours you should have worked this week. And then we could use a poll where we actually ask them, how many hours did you work this week? And there is no judgment here, right? We just ask them, and they have to think by themselves. Actually, I was supposed to work 6 hours. I just worked 1. So by themselves, they produce a feedback loop for themselves in that way, where they see, I'm actually only here and I should be there. And so that they're not getting really angry, confused, or when it's time to write an exam or so, when they feel they are behind. So it gives them a direct every week sort of feedback loop. That's where I sort of am. And you make them sort of feel, I'm watching you, I'm with you, I really care where you are. Okay, and when recording a video, you could mention there is a bonus idea. So you want to keep them until the end of your videos. You don't want to have them drop out after 5 minutes. So you could mention there's a bonus idea at the end of your video. And that's what I also did. I have a bonus idea for you at the end of my talk. So let's see whether it makes you curious and interested to stay with me until the end. I hope so. Let's see. Live sessions. So when we are now in a live session setup, what can we do to engage with students, to be with them? We could have a first kickoff meeting. And in that first kickoff meeting, we put the students in breakout rooms and we let them introduce to each other based on a theme. Yeah, we could ask them, again, I mentioned already a little bit earlier, we could ask them, ask for 3 skills. 1 is a lie, that is a game. Yeah, let's say there are 3 students in the breakout room, and then everybody says there are 3 skills and 1 of this is a lie. And the other 2 need to find out what is the lie in the, among these 3 skills. Or tell something about yourself related to the course in that breakout room. What are your expectations of the course? So students could share that and by that get to know each other. And if we all do that, with varying degrees, then over the whole course, of the whole program, students will get to meet each other in different breakout rooms, will get to know each other, might connect, might start networking, besides other things we have in mind. You can also use that quite smart. We want to have feedback also. How is it running our course? Are they with us? We could run breakout rooms where we ask them to discuss feedback, where they can talk about how are we, what do you like about the course, what not? And then in a Mentimeter, in an anonymous way, you capture those feedback points. And if you do this twice or 3 times during your course, you get actually feedback from your students where they are, what they like, where you can help them more. And something else you could do is that before every class, you could ask them, you say how you have been doing, but you can also ask your students how they are doing before a Q&A session. And you could be playful about that by they hold up a sign, either with something they draw on it, or it's a number 1 to 10, or they hold up an emoji or something like that. Just, to get them interacted, and then people look at the screen and see what are the others doing and recognize. And the camera is important for that. So it is another point to initiate that they use a camera and so on. Yeah, all ideas to get them moving and not like sitting just back in their seats. I mentioned ask students to switch on their camera. I mentioned that already. Something else we can do is we can always try to refer to the names of students. Yeah, I know if we have 200, 300 students, it becomes more difficult, but we have the chat. We have in Zoom this window where you see the participants. So reading out a couple of names seems to work wonders, that students really feel, oh, my name, oh, that's cool. Or if they ask a question, you address them with their name saying, very interesting question, Mark. I really, or Utz, really interesting question. So, and just hearing your own name, that's one of the most beautiful things you can do actually with a person. Recognize them with their name will make them stay with you. I mentioned already hiring a TA is, I think, very helpful for your live sessions. I would really want to motivate you to do that. Moderating the chat, they can answer questions for you already, which are simple, and the other ones they can pass on to you. Or another simple tool, at the end of your lecture, you stay online and you just say, hey, I will be there still for a couple of minutes. Similar to your sessions, maybe which are on site, you just stay in the lecture hall for a minute, and students who want to ask you questions can be there. The group will be smaller and you can just discuss a little bit with your fellows. Okay, how are we doing so far? Lots of information coming your way here. Is there some interesting information here for you? Are you still alive? Yeah, sort of. Okay, good. Let me see. We are nearing the end, so we are getting there. So how to collect questions and feedback? Yeah, that's tying back to what Discana told you. Leonard has been using discussion boards quite effectively already, and he says it really works well. If you structure that well, students answer each other questions, or you answer questions only once rather than writing 10 times the same email. And it can be ranked via likes. And if you want to have an anonymous setup, you can use Piazza for that. It's not that hard to use. It is also integrated in Canvas. But if you're fine with the Canvas discussion board, then it's also fine. One really nice tool I like a lot, which I learned, is when you are at towards the end of a lecture, we usually ask questions in the lecture, students, right? So do we have a question now? And we have this typical problem that then students think, oh, I'm now one of 100 students. Maybe my question is a dumb one. I don't want to say it. And how can we get around that? And the idea here would be the following. Towards the end of your lecture, let's say 10 minutes, 7 minutes to the end of the lecture, you ask everybody, and that is the trick here. You ask everybody to ask a question and put them in Mentimeter, put the question in Mentimeter. You will collect those questions quickly and you will see what are the most frequently asked questions. So it's a job for everybody to do, so everybody has to do it. And that way you see what the questions are, you collect feedback, you collect questions, you see where the students have problems, and you can take the last minutes to go into that question and answer it. Yeah, I find this a really nice trick and a cool tool. Okay, let me see time-wise where we are. I want to end in 5 minutes from now, so please stick with me for 5 more minutes. Let me really see quickly.
Norman?
Yes?
I have the feeling that you, or not the feeling, but you sound like you are talking about a live lecture. Like, okay, at the end of the lecture, you can collect questions, but if there are no live lectures, there will be only Q&A sessions, which possibly could be live.
Well, live, absolutely. Thank you for that, Günzli. But that's basically Q&A session or live lecture is for me the same thing, right? You went through a Q&A session, or you might have run some exercise in your live tutorial. And now you want to know, how did your students do at the end? And that could be a tool, these Mentimeter collecting of questions could be a tool that everybody tells you where he's still struggling. It is about life. You're absolutely right. It's, if your course is set up that you only have knowledge clips and no live meeting, then yeah, my tips here don't make sense. But as soon as you have a Q&A session, if you have a tutorial or even a live lecture, I think those tools can be used.
Thanks.
Does it make sense, Günzli?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
But then, Norman, how do you do that the 10 minutes before, and then you have to collect the most frequently asked questions while still teaching? How do you multitask all this?
Well, TA, I will have a TA for that. He will exactly help me with these things. If you have to do it yourself, well, they have to hack in the question, right? So you could say, now we take 2 minutes, make it really short. 2 minutes where I give you the chance to hack in a question, and then you see it. It pops up right away on your screen, and you screen them, and you collect, and then you get an idea. Okay, these are the most important questions, and you dive into it. You could still do it like that, but with a TA, I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, great point. Good. Group work. Let me quickly go through that. So group work. The idea is to use group work as much as possible. It's a bit of extra work, I know, to set this up rather than, going frontal with just going through slides. But what literature learns us is that, group work produces bonding, community forming, cohort building, feeling at home off campus, getting to know the program, learning strategies. So a lot of positive things which we want to actually achieve with our students next to pushing information into their brains. So yeah, that's something I want to motivate you to do if you're interested in doing that. And also group work makes students work rather than we have to do the work. We might have to prepare it a little bit, but we make them work. And we all kind of know that doing things yourself is really the thing which makes you learn something. It's really the key ingredient to learn something. And again, use not want to be the dump one tool to make students work if there's no reporting. So you can make group work always with a theme, and in groups, usually the outcome should be evaluated. If you don't do that, nothing is really happening. So if you don't create it, then there's no real effort going into it. But you don't want to create everything which comes out of a group. Maybe you have maybe too many of those points in your lecture. So another way to really make them work is that you make them aware of that they work in groups, and you can make divisions in the exercise you give them in groups. So there will be 2 or 3 parts, and you change the groups. Yeah, there's one task to do, but it's chopped up in 3 periods. In the first period, they will work on the first part of that task in a group, and then they will be swapped in a different group with different people. And if they don't want to be the dump one in those follow-up groups, they need to be active in the first group as well. They need to be active in the second group. in order to be not that one who is not talking in those group meetings. And you can also ask the groups, or you could make them aware that they can be asked forward in the online setting to report about their results. Yeah, that also keeps them on their toes to work. Okay, feedback behavior. Let me actually, because of the time, let me jump over that. Let me come to my bonus point. I wanna go through that. So actually, breaks, I had to plan to do it today with you. Some of you might know that I have a yoga background, and I practice yoga quite intensively. And there are a lot of studies showing that breathing exercises are very helpful to focus your mind, but also to relax yourself. And what I plan to do is I want to use the breaks I have between my Q&A sessions with students, for example, to breathing exercise with them. And don't laugh, it has actually been used and students actually really like it. But you can do multiple things here, right? You can play music. People can choose the music. So you let different students choose music. You can talk during the break about life, economy, anecdotes you have. You can share things. Collect their stories via discussion board and Mentimeter and talk with them about them. Or you do stretching exercises or so. Yeah, all ideas, you don't have to do it, but ideas to use the breaks we have in a way where we actually, have a use of it. We could frame the breaks as a part of the lecture by giving them a question similar to what we did earlier, in order to maintain the flow of the lecture, not that people break away and are gone after 45 minutes. Or we can also ask students to ask us questions. So they have seen now a part of the lecture, and we could point out certain students to ask us a question. And if that in a well-prepared setting, even better if there is an assignment where they are well prepared, then you can even better point out students, and they might even be proud that they are called forward to ask you a question, and it makes it for a very interactive setting. Okay, with that, I want to say, get in touch. Let us know what you need at this moment. I got from some people the feedback, I will teach in 5 months from now. So it's nice what you tell us, but we will really know what we need 5 months from now. But still, try to think where we can help you, what we can, produce in terms of knowledge or material so that we can help you. And with that, let me try to switch over to my full screen. Is that correct that you see my full screen? I think so. Yeah, you see my face. Thank you. All right. Let me say at this point again, a big thank you to Sana for the work which is going on in the background. As I said, there will be a manual with that. Next week, another workshop coming up where we implement in a more practical way parts of what I showed you in a very quick way today. Seema Ramdas, she's absolutely excellent. I'm really looking forward to that workshop. And with that, Sana, do you want to say a quick closing word from your side?
Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions on the technical part, you're more than welcome to reach out, and I'll be very happy to support you there.
Perfect. So with that, have a great day. Enjoy your time, and get in touch with us and help us to produce good knowledge and good material for you. Have a good day, and we talk soon. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.